Hi, I'm Amber.
Hi, I'm Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Corinne.
Hiya, I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
And together we are UnfiltHERed, where the her is no longer silent.
Unfiltered is the coming together of 5 neurodivergent women, and together we will be discussing all things neurodiversity: autism, ADHD, parenting, being parent carers, inclusion, and how these are led by our experiences of womanhood.
All voices are welcome here, and we do not discriminate. Our goal is to create a real, inclusive, safe space and community for everyone to be their unfiltered self.
This space is all about community and not competition, empowering others through their differences and removing stigma.
Whether you are here for yourself or a loved one, you are welcome here. So come and join us in this unfiltered conversation.
So obviously I'm waiting for my diagnosis, which we all know I've been fucking waiting forever for, and Romans. And
I'll be 50 by then.
Yeah, you'll be ancient by that.
I will. I'm going to be 50 in 3 years, love. I'll be 50.
That's when I get diagnosed.
We'll have my 50th and your diagnosis. We'll have a celebration.
And my 40th. I'm 40 in 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Right, let Corinne speak. Hang on.
Right, are you making me laugh? They've changed the access. We don't have the access pathway anymore in my area. It's all under the mental health charity. Apparently, it's a segment of it. They're calling it the neurodevelopmental pathway. So it's like autism and ADHD. So they're kind of like doing it together, if it makes sense. That pathway. But apparently, it's meant to be quicker. You know, they like to say that it's gonna be quicker. It's gonna be quicker. And I've spoke to a few people. I'm not going to obviously say any because I might like get them in the shit. But some people that know the inside of kind of what's going on in the local authority, and basically it's bullshit. They're kind of putting their fingers going, it's going to be quicker for you guys. And I'm like, why would you? I mean, to be fair, the access pathway isn't good anyway. Like we all know that's forever. Like it's going to take years, and they have their backlog since COVID. Obviously, that made things worse and whatnot. But putting in a system that literally is like in the same building as the mental health charity and the mental health.
They've removed your CCG, because that's when I looked into it and I was like, you've got to have a CCG in your area. They've removed it, and how they've gone about that is so sneaky. And what I think it is they all kick the can down the road. They don't want to acknowledge the issue, because I could not believe it. Now, I know I've only got experience of Kent, but I've looked into a lot of areas and I've got friends or people I know from different areas, and I was like, you could not make head nor tails of that when I looked into it. And I think they knew the system as it was broken. So rather than dealing with it or saying, like Kelly said, it's broken, we've fucked it for everyone.
Try and change it and make it sound better.
Let's work it out. They kick it down the road and then they blame central government. And it's the blame game, isn't it? But who gets affected? You're affected. Your boys are affected.
Yeah.
And all the effort into putting in the little fake smoke and mirrors could be put into actually just
making things better.
I mean, I'm literally at that point with Roman now. So the school finally put in for his assessment at the back end of December last year. And I've got to do the whole waiting bit now for them to approve the assessment. So under the mental health area that it's now in, that building, I'm going to guess, and I don't know totally, but I reckon it's going to be seen by a lot of professionals, including mental health professionals, and they're going to read this thing and they're going to decide from a bit of paper, which is now, by the way, 30 pages long, is because it's under this new thing. They've got to decide whether from that they're going to agree to an assessment or no. And if he says no, I'm back to square one again. And I'm telling you guys right now, if they say no, I am going to fucking...
What about... Someone sent me a couple of links about right to choose.
Yes.
Oh, don't even start.
You can't do that. You can't do that unless you've not been through any others though. So I've had do it.
Yeah. So
right. No, that's not true. Because I had CBT prior to having my ADHD assessment.
No, I mean, if you've been on a waiting list, sorry, I've got a little one.
Oh, hey, baby.
Hello, Remy.
Hi, darling.
Hi. But if you've been through through that particular so if you've been through an ADHD on the waiting list and then you try to go through Right to Choose for a quicker solution.
I thought they did let you do that.
No, my doctor tried with me when I was going through one of my assessments and wanted to try Right to Choose because apparently it was a shorter list, but because I was already on one list and had started going through that way, I couldn't then, like they say, basically once you've been through an assessment or on the waiting list.
Oh, you were too far in.
Yeah, you can't
I know,
go.
I know. But if they say no to you, Corinne, then you can.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. So
you can't because there's no CCG.
I don't know. Did I tell you in the group chat what happened with my doctor when I suggested or asked to go Right to Choose, and he. You know what? When you wish you could have recorded a phone call and put it out there. This is how shitty doctors are. He was
basically laughed at her.
Not swear because Remy's there, but he literally was. He turned around and I was like, I want to go through my own process. I really want to go down the Right to Choose, because it's taking too long. And his words to me were, "Well, it's just another label. It's not a real diagnosis." And basically saying why, because you've lived with it for so many years. Why do you want? Like, you know what you see, what these trolls say online. Literally, my own
doctor's a troll.
My doctor's a troll.
Probably him. It's probably him.
Probably is.
Yeah, but it was just so belittling, and like the way he was saying it was like, "What's the point? You've coped this long," and I'm like, I was in tears after. When you're shaking, like, oh my god, like how dare. So I refuse to say that.
To
Helen, there's a seat for him in Kent. Tell him to go and join the rest of the weirdos in Kent.
Yeah. Get down south, mate. You belong there.
Go work for KCC.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that you hear on the videos that keep getting leaked. What a thing to say.
Oh, don't.
But they're given that framework by the NHS. A lot of doctors are being advised to dissuade because GPs, and it's a thing I've had a massive spat about over the last few years with myself and Tommy, because GPs have GP autonomy. So they don't have to go by their Hippocratic Oath. They don't have to go by NICE guidelines. They have GP autonomy. So if they believe it is a waste of NHS money, they are within their right to dissuade you, as long as it's not classed as discriminatory and things like that. And there's a very fine line, because it is discriminatory, but they'll say, but that's my GP autonomy. And the problem you've got with Grimsby is there is no clinical commissioning group. They have removed the CCG. So there is no governing body. So normally you'd have, like, obviously, so for Kent, like, you've got East Kent Hospital Trust for our side of Kent, and then you've got the CCG, and the CCG will be split up into different areas. So you'll have one for each town, but like you'll have CCG South East Kent, CCG East Kent, and things like that. There's no CCG in Grimsby, so they've taken that away. So at the moment, if you've got an issue with your GP, there's nowhere to go. How to deal with the hospital? And this is what it was only when you said to me about you were looking into it and you couldn't find it, and I thought it'd be really easy. And it leads you around in circles, because it leads you to the hospital trust. But then they say if it's an issue of the GP, click here. It leads you to the NHS, but it's like the I can't think, like the psychiatric mental health hospital side of the NHS constantly leads you round. So Grimsby's a really, really, I don't know,
an ancient town.
Isn't it insane that we all live in the UK? I was so ignorant before I come onto social media. I assumed that the rules were everywhere the same.
No.
Only when I said, "Oh, but the waiting list at the moment is only," the woman was, because I said, "Oh,
it's all different."
She was like, "No, I've been told 7 years," and I was like, "What?" But you've been
me.
I didn't realise that it was so different everywhere, because London. Obviously things are not great at the moment, and it's kind of getting worse. But I'm a bit worried now things are going to change.
It's so much better in London, but I think also because of the population, like I've got family that come from southeast London, Bermondsey, and they go to their GP and they go in for something quite typical, but they will get a full blood test, they get this, they get that. down here in Kent, you're lucky to get a GP appointment, and if you do go in, I requested an MRI because I haven't had one since 2015, and I was told, well, you've got EDS, we know that, so what's the point? It's a waste on NHS money. And I'm like, the point is, I know it's got worse, I can feel it's got, but that's gonna, well, you know, we can't cure it, so there's no point. Whereas in London, my other relatives they don't have EDS, but if they've got an issue, they will get MRIs, they get CTs, and it's not overkill, but they take the time
They're
to
very thorough in London. Very thorough. Like, obviously I'm from London, so I've still got a lot of relatives there. Like one of my aunts, she's under King's because she had a liver transplant like 10 years ago, and she goes back every year, goes and gets tested. Like they're so thorough with her. And I'm not saying it's great in every hospital. I think it depends on where you go and what you're doing, but overall I think the experience is a lot better. But there was something
They
else.
sent me a text message. Like they sent me a text message the other day and said, "Oh, you've not had your bloods done for a while. You need to."
Yeah, no,
My doctor's like that.
Yeah, no,
we don't get that.
No.
Literally, I got my celiac disease 2 years ago, and then it was like, right, we're going to because obviously check your bone density, because when you've got celiac disease, your bones can be brittle, like thinner and whatnot. Obviously, I don't look like I've got thin bones, but you get what I mean. I just had to throw that out there. But they're meant to like,
hi Chase.
but they're meant to like do regular blood tests on me because of things being low, and literally I haven't even seen a professional or a doctor like that does the autoimmune side.
You're literally just
in 2 years, I'm like, see ya.
It's
that's why every time I call for an appointment, I have to go, I have got celiac disease, so blah blah, and they're like, oh, okay, and I'm like, you should know that, it's in my fucking my notes, do you know what I mean?
It should be there. Well, no, I think we got way more support before Brody got diagnosed than we've ever had since after. And I've spoken to a few people like at my son's school and whatever, and I've literally said to them, get them on pathway, but don't worry about the fact it says it's 3 years or 2 years. And I remember one of my friends, she lives up north, and I remember getting the letter to say, oh, it's a 3-year wait, and I had a huge meltdown. It ended up only being like 6 months, like 18 months in all for Brody to get him diagnosed, which
once they get the diagnosis, it's like, see you later.
Yeah, literally, she said it to me, and her daughter's like 18 now, and she was like, honestly, she was like, she was like, he's on pathway, that's all you want. But with Right to Choose, just to kind of explain it for anyone listening, so Right to Choose is only available in England, so you can't get it in Scotland and Wales, because people don't realise that Scotland and Wales have different rules to us, and the same as Northern Ireland, all completely different rules. So they don't have it at the minute, but we do. And basically it's when your GP can refer you to, it's almost like a private third party. So there's certain
clinical partners.
Clinical partners, So there's certain, one of them's called Clinical Partners. You've got Psychiatry UK, which is where I got my ADHD diagnosis. There's another one, ADHD 360, and there's another one which I can't remember the name of.
Got CCON.
What?
CCON.
That's it, CCON. So I think there's a couple more, but anyway, and they're clinical partners, like they're actual private practitioners. You can go privately with them and get a diagnosis, but they have an NHS contract, so they will take on so many NHS referrals. So rather than having an official NHS diagnosis, you have this clinical third party diagnosis. It depends on each clinic what they do. So like Clinical Partners, for instance, you can't get titrated on medication with them. So you get diagnosed, so you'll do an ADHD assessment, you'll get diagnosed, you then have to go back to your GP and then wait to be re-referred to have your titration done. With Psychiatry UK, so I got assessed in the April, got diagnosed in the April. I didn't get my medication until like the June, July, because it takes that long for you to titrate. Yet one of my other friends, she got diagnosed the other day and walked out with
I was going to say, prescription. Same for me.
Walked out with a prescription. And I can't remember who she went with, but that was the same thing. She went through Right to Choose. Oh no, that's a lie. She didn't go through Right to Choose. She went through NHS, but she got referred through her mental health services. So again, it depends on where you're from.
Isn't it always through the mental health services though?
I don't know. I don't know what she did. She's from Liverpool, so I need to find out. But she went through a slightly different service, but it wasn't Right to Choose. So I will find out.
With the NHS, it's the mental health team. So like, you know, CAMS stands for Child and Adolescent
Yeah,
Mental Health.
yeah.
So for the adults with autism and ADHD, you go through the mental health team.
Yeah.
We don't in Kent.
Yeah. Oh, you don't?
We don't. No.
Where do you
We
go?
don't
I
go
went
through
through
mental
Oxford.
health team.
They didn't give me an option to go through NHS. Well, it's not they didn't give me. When I went to my GP, she was really, really good. And I went in and I was like, look, I've already got an autism diagnosis from childhood, la, 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 la. Here's all my traits, ta-ta-ta-ta. And she went, look, she went, you're obviously, you know, she went, everything you're showing me here, there's no reason why you wouldn't get a diagnosis. And she went, but if you go through NHS, you're looking at about 3 years, like minimum. I feel like you need help now, because I basically had a breakdown. I was like just really upset.
Bless her for being so lovely.
She was so good. And she went, look, I'm going to refer you here and now. And she went, do you want to be re-referred for autism? And I was like, no, because if they turn around to me and say I'm not autistic, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. Because what do you do with that?
With my identity.
Literally the identity crisis. So I was like, I'd rather just leave it as it is. Because I don't know if I'd meet criteria now.
You would. I
Would
guarantee
I?
you would. I was in my appointment for less than 5 minutes, and they said I was one of the easiest diagnoses they've seen in
Really?
years.
I must
I
admit,
didn't
when
know
I
whether to
had
laugh
mine,
or cry at that point.
yeah, so I can only speak on Psychiatry UK. I don't know what it's like for the other clinical part, like the other partners, but it wasn't. I mean, NHS one is so much more thorough. You get told what kind of ADHD you have. They do your bloods. They do everything.
Is that not the case?
No, I literally had. I think I had 2 different Zoom calls. I had an over the phone assessment. Then I had to go and do a load of paperwork, a load of forms. And I had to do one with my mum. So my mum had to send him a load of forms to say, like, this is what she was like as a child. And they said, and someone that knows you extremely well. So I picked my partner, Dean. So he did the other lot. And it was really funny because Mum and Dean were doing it to get, like, they were kind of doing it at the same time. We done it all on the same day. Because I was like, if I don't do it today, it's not going to get done. And they both sat there like, yeah, she does do that. Yeah. You know, and I was like,
That seems so overcomplicated, the process you went through.
it wasn't. I mean, it was quite.
Not give you a diagnosis.
Yeah.
What? Do they not specify whether you're combined or not?
No,
or...
I never really got. I never got told. I don't. I assume I'm combined,
but they never told you.
No, they never outright when you're combined, you're inattentive, you're hyperactive. Like, I never had any of that. But I did. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so I had a pre-call thing with the guy that was like, I'm going to be your psycho. I'm going to be the guy doing it. Blah blah blah. I was like, cool. And then I sent in loads of different forms. I had to go and do like my blood pressure and all this shit. And then, but I never had bloods done, but I had to do my blood pressure because if your blood pressure is high, you can't have the medication. And then I think it was an hour-long assessment over Zoom. And he basically diagnosed me on the spot.
Wow.
Same as you, Dan. He turned around and he was like, I have really severe ADHD. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, you're probably one of the most severe cases I've ever come across. I was like, oh, thanks for telling me that. And then he went, okay, have a nice day, bye. And I was like, I just sat there like this.
Go through as well, because I got told to go for an ADHD assessment after. I haven't followed it up.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you were or not.
So I've only got a formal diagnosis of ASD. I haven't got a formal diagnosis of ADHD. Although they said that I ticked the boxes, and this is where they said it was silly. So I went to my GP, had a battle to get the ASD screening, you know, the 10 questions.
Yeah.
From that, I had no further involvement. It didn't go through community mental health. It didn't go through a single point of fact. It didn't go through any of them. It just went from the GP directly through to NHS. Decon picked it up because they were the ones that they were using at the time.
Yeah.
I had a questionnaire to fill out, and then I had an observer questionnaire, so I picked my nan to do mine.
Yeah, that was.
Then I had the appointment, and then I was diagnosed there and then that day. But the psychiatrist, because there was a psychiatrist and a psychologist, the assessment. I've got a 9-page diagnosis letter. It's really thorough.
Oh, I literally got. I think mine was only like 2 pages.
Mine breaks it down into like.
No, mine really wasn't. I must admit, it's not the most thorough. Like, I think I was quite an easy like diagnosis. Pretty much everyone that's ever met me in my life has just assumed I had ADHD. So even before that, I kind of knew anyway. So it wasn't really a shock. And when I done it through the GP, she went, like, obviously most people, they do the autism and ADHD together. They send off the referral together.
Yeah, they're
And
not now,
UK
though,
will
it
do the
seems to be.
pre-screening. So that's what I had at first, with the pre-screen. And then I had to go do all the other forms, do the thing like you did with your nan. My mum was mine.
Yeah.
And then I had to pick 2 people. So obviously the other one was Dean. And then, yeah, he just kind of said, like, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation?
When did you go through this? Because I wonder if
I got diagnosed, oddly enough, it's my wedding day as well, but I got diagnosed 1st of April 2022. And it's weird that I'm getting married 1st of April this year.
I see, I got diagnosed last year, and when they did it, they said they weren't doing the dual anymore. You have to go for one or the other.
Oh.
And that's what CCON was saying, because he said, this is ridiculous. He said, I am qualified, and so is my colleague, to dual diagnose you. And he said, I would go back to your GP, push for the ADHD, do the screening, you'll get straight back through to us. Because I only had, from my initial appointment with the GP to getting diagnosed, was about 9 weeks. It was really quick.
Mine was quick. I think mine was about that, 9-10 weeks.
I think it sounds like it's because they changed the whole way that they do it, though.
Yeah,
Like,
they've changed it.
Right, they're not doing the dual anymore.
My mum came with me for my appointment.
No,
rather than
I didn't have anything in person.
Yeah, my nan had to come with me. They wanted
we went there for hours. They literally picked my whole life apart, from childhood, things I'd never even considered.
Yeah.
And I had several appointments.
That's how they've described it. The same as you, like they literally get ripped apart. Mine was, he asked me some questions about my childhood. It was like, yeah, your childhood, like there was different things that had happened that he was like, oh yes, I can pinpoint. Because basically what they need to work out is, because where ADHD is so similar to PTSD, presents very similarly. So what they have to work out is, have you always had this?
Yeah.
Has there been an event in your life?
Did it just come on? Yeah.
And then sometimes it can be like, you can get to, especially with women, you can have a baby, and normally it's parenthood, because it rips apart your routine, rips apart your life, hormones are everywhere. And the same with menopause. So there's a reason, that's why so many are coming through, like they're almost kind of getting through their whole teens, masking, and then they're emerging at like around mid-20s, 30. If they're getting missed, the ones that are in their 50s are now going through menopause, and they're emerging. Do you know what I mean? So, and going through menopause, it can give you ADHD-like traits. So they have to be like, what, have you always been like this? Or is it just because you're going through menopause and you're having brain fog? So that's
they went back to my earliest memories, and they could trace the ADHD traits as far back as I can remember, at like 2-3 years old.
Yeah, that's what they've done with me. He kind of went through everything, but it wasn't the most thorough thing, I'll be honest. So I think for me, because I already had a good idea of that I was, and I kind of knew anyway, but it did take me a bit. You are kind of just left to it. Like it was like, oh, here's your medication. And I could go back to them. I did have another assessment afterwards, because I got given Concerta, which is a stimulant medication at first, and without triggering anyone, it made me basically feel suicidal. So I've struggled with suicidal ideation probably since the age of 25, like on and off, and it brought it back again within, I'd say, 6 weeks of taking the medication, like to the point Dean was really scared. He was like, I'm really not happy with you being on this. And so I went back to them, I literally said I feel suicidal, and they're like, right, stop taking it immediately, because you can with stimulants, obviously, as you know, we know, because you can just take them as and when. So I stopped taking them, immediately felt better, and they reassessed me, and they were like, I'll try a non-stimulant. So I did a lot of titration with the medication, but I got discharged in March because I was just like, I can't get on with any of the medication. So
it's very much diagnosed and discharged, isn't it, as adults? So
yeah,
because all I was told was literally come back to us if you need medication.
Yeah,
I don't know what they can offer. Like there isn't.
You can have, so you can have an ADHD coach, you can have ADHD counselling, which is something I've never heard of until I heard Sam Thompson talking about it on Loose Women.
They do group sessions and support and all sorts.
Yeah, no, I haven't been offered any of that, and I am going to go back to my GP and say, like, I want something, because I feel like I'm kind of back to square one again. I mean, sertraline for depression, and it does help with some of the ADHD stuff, but obviously with my ADHD, I suffer with like rages, essentially. Like, I've got no patience whatsoever. I am very hot-headed and I can get really angry, so I find the sertraline really helps with that. But I found with the stimulants, because they put me on Elvans as well for a bit, and that was horrific.
Oh my God, that actually scares me, Elvans.
No, it scared me. I went like the whole time. I remember there was a day that like Brody was laughing about something, and I looked at him and I was like, I want to kill you. Like, and obviously I would never hurt him, but I remember saying to Dick, I was like, I actually like the noise of his laugh makes me want to like,
yeah,
like it was horrible. I actually felt scared. So I was like, I'm just going to stop taking it.
I felt really spacey and like not myself on that. And I usually, because when I was going through the different medications, I tried to see them through. It was weird. It's like it stopped my brain from working, and I felt like I was just kind of going with the motion, like my body was moving and doing what it was doing, but I weren't fully there. And usually I want to see a medication through to see, because obviously you have to try it out for a certain amount of time. I was terrified to even touch the medication. It scared me that much. The feeling was just not right. But even like, so I was diagnosed in 2019, and I was only just discharged from the ADHD service last year summer.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You're not taking anything now either.
No, I take my medication. I've got a packet here, but I just basically have to do my blood pressure, check my weight every few months, and I've now been handed back to my GP for a repeat prescription.
Oh, so they've done the shared care.
Yeah, but I was going and having sessions, and they were checking in on my mental health, and consistently since 2019, and during COVID it was over the phone and Zoom. Regularly I'd have to see and speak to somebody, right up until last year in the summer.
You get none of that down here.
None of that.
For me, and I know I appreciate it's different between ASD and ADHD, but all I got was come back to us if you want to go on medication.
What medication would they give you for ASD?
Well, that's what I didn't know, because
I was going to say,
all I can assume is antidepressant.
Yeah.
Which for me, I've been on everyone going. They work wonders for some people.
Diagnosis, not a diagnosis of that's just.
No, I know.
I've never heard it's
no
medication. Like, bro, obviously my son has melatonin for his sleep.
Yeah.
The happiest person in the world and be autistic. Why would they assume that you would need antidepressants?
Don't know. That's the only thing, because they said come back to us if you need medication. So unless what he was meaning is, because it's so hard, because he said about, if I could diagnose you with a dual diagnosis, I'd diagnose you today, but I can't.
Maybe he was going to give you ADHD medication
unless he's thinking of the ADHD medication, but I can't get that without the diagnosis. But other than that, it was like, if you've got an issue, I've got to be really careful, obviously, what I say and where I go with this. But if you have an issue with your employer, come back to us. We can help with that. If you have an issue in this area or that area, come back to me. It was pretty much diagnosed and dumped. And I appreciate there's not much that can be done, but it's very much postcode lottery, I think. And it's like with my GP, there isn't, we don't get along at the best of times. I can't get another GP because that particular GP is the one who deals with all complex patients and disabled patients within the practice. So there isn't another GP I can see. Anything I raise, I'm depressed, apparently, and I'm not. I have suffered with depression. I know the difference. Or it's, well, what do you expect? You're autistic. And I think it very much depends, because I know people that have got diagnosed that are up the country that have been offered like not necessarily group sessions, but like they've been put in touch with other people and
things.
Yeah, and there's nothing.
No, the only thing I've ever had, and I don't even know how I got it, was I went into like a mummy mental health thing when Brody was a baby. I was in some like mental health group for mums, but I don't know if that was just because I happened to walk into the children's centre and I think they just looked at me and thought, oh, she looks depressed. Let's sign her. Like, she looks like she's on her last legs. Let's get her in. And they didn't know I was autistic. It was only when I said, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm depressed, but I am autistic. And they were like, oh, okay. And it was the first time I'd kind of said it in a public setting. So, you know, obviously I really appreciated it.
To be fair, in Grimsby we have Faraway, which are a adult autism service, but they have like support after diagnosis, but they also have a support and like groups and that for pre-diagnosed people.
Oh, that's good.
So like, so while you're waiting, you can. I mean, I need to go, but being the way I am, I just don't do things.
Go? You should go.
I'm one of them. Like, I mean, you guys know, literally, I've got a list of things I want to do, and I just can't.
It's that push, isn't it? It's that
they disappear within 2 days, and I'm like, ugh. But yeah, I need to. Yeah, I just think it's great that they've got that, because I don't think any.
That is really good.
I mean, I don't know how many areas have actually got a pre-diagnosis support,
and that's actually what I think is needed more than anything. Like, there's nothing really out there for the pre-diagnosis or the people that are on pathway.
With a long waiting list, people feel so lost.
Yeah,
that's what my group started up as. We were really clear that you don't need a diagnosis to
go.
It is for pre-diagnosed. If you just assume and maybe thinking about going for assessment, if you're diagnosed, like, everyone is welcome here. And it was really good, because then we had parents who had experience helping those who were just kind of trying to find their way, and that peer-to-peer support. The peer-to-peer support is amazing. It's like I think is one of the best things you can get, because lived experience, and then those who can relate to your struggle, that is magic. That's real support, and you're never going to get that from a professional.
Yeah, no, 100%. When the one thing I will say, and I'll say it's to anyone that's kind of listening to this that is like in that kind of pre-diagnosed era, if you have a children's centre near you, those places are like fucking gold dust. We lived and died in our children's centre. Like, I was really lucky, so I've got 3 near me, and one of them was kind of like a London-based one, but they didn't care that I wasn't based in London. They were like, yep, no, sign up, that's fine. That's where I did my mummy and me one, like the mummy mental health one. I did baby massage. I'd done my speech course through them. They did sensory
toddler groups, baby yoga.
I used to
see, I was always at work when I was off until Tommy was 10 months old. But then what I found is they were never on the right days, because we've got quite a lot of children's centres. Some are closing now with the KCC kind of shake up, but they had so much on, because it was one thing I noticed when Tommy got diagnosed. They were like, I will take him to this, take him to that. And I was like, it's a bit late now. Because all of that would have been helpful when he was like a year old and younger. He's 4 now. It's, we've already moved on from that. And I think that's the real thing that can also, if you don't know anyone in the area, it can be hard to go yourself, but also.
That's why I didn't go to a lot.
Yeah. A lot of my friends are like that. They didn't go to
about going places when I don't really know anyone. When Chase was a baby, I had postnatal depression, so I literally, bless him, he never got to experience any of those things, but he don't remember anything before he was 5, so it's fine. Remy, I did a few baby massage, but that's because my friend had a baby at the same time, so she doesn't even know this, but she was like my comfort blanket kind of thing, so we would go together, which takes away that anxiety for me.
But people like that then.
Don't go,
I think most people are. I mean, I just had to get out of the house. So I just had to get out of the house, and I went a bit overboard. I literally went to any baby group that was like going. I was like, yep, I'm here.
Yeah. I remember taking Caleb to like a play group when he was 16 months old. And it was at that point where, we just kind of started thinking, maybe he's autistic. We spoke to the health visitor, he was on that pathway. And we're in this baby group. And it was literally that group that solidified it all for me. Was all these kids were like from 12 months to 2 years. We're all singing in like a circle, we're all playing the instruments. Caleb was at the other side of the room by himself reading books. And I was just, and like he would not like come over, obviously engaged. Like, and it was kind of like, and it was like that for weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, the whole thing actually, he never really joined in, but It was kind of, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
remember
like
that
that, turn around.
panic I would feel like, and I really wish I could go back in time and be like, it's fine. Like,
yeah.
do his thing. But I remember
I used to feel sad sometimes,
yeah,
like,
same.
oh,
I
he's
used to
not
get so
engaged.
upset.
But actually, he was happy. He didn't care. He was
Yeah,
like,
he
I'm
didn't
happy
give
doing
a
my own
shit.
thing. I don't want to be with these people.
No, like I'm quite happy over here. And that was kind of like he did used to join in with some of it. So I remember he was literally the last one to walk. He didn't walk until he was like 16, 17 months. Like he was the last one to walk.
Yeah.
He was a lot, and he wasn't verbal and all the rest of it. And and no one ever really said anything, but you kind of knew, and I knew. Like now you're a bit like, we all know it's
I
fine.
think everyone knew without saying it. Yeah.
And yeah, I remember I'd go baby sensory, and he loved it, and he would join in. Like he would do the singing, and he'd look and he'd want to play the instruments. I mean, he'd do his own thing completely with them, and a lot of them got lobbed across the room.
Lobbed in it.
And they'd all be like, right, we're gonna go do this now, and he'd be like, nope, and he'd just go rolling off. So whatever. He would crawl everywhere. Like he was a really good crawler, so he'd just go off and do whatever. But yeah, I remember like I used to, the ones that the set groups were fine, like the baby sensory and all that he those, but it was like the stay and plays, that's where I really noticed it, like where they just go off and do their own thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd be sitting there and all the little babies would be talking, and I'd be going, look mummy, rah, rah, rah. And he would literally just be like demolition and just going around like destroying everything or throwing everything, and I was just like, oh my god, what is going on?
I could never bring myself to go today. See, I went to a few, and when you like, I'll persevere because I knew deep down, I knew you just know, don't you? But and then I was like, oh, I don't, he might have just had a bad day, or he woke up from his nap too early, and I'd go, and it's probably because of me as well and the way I am, but I'd feel so isolated, and I'd feel like all the eyes were on us because Tommy never coped. Tommy was the child that you tend to get one of those children everywhere. He would just be having the most epic meltdown, and I'd be sat on the floor having to restrain him because he was in that much of a state. I couldn't even carry him out. And I felt like I was just getting the stares and the daggers, and I probably wasn't, but it made me self-conscious. So I was like, I won't do that again. So it's lovely to hear about how Brody was and how the boys were. And I think that's where I get a lot of guilt, because I think I place limits on Tommy because we could have found different ways to manage things. And I think that's where, going back to like diagnosis, whether it's for adults or for children, I wish there was more support, because it's not until you connect with other people, and your situation doesn't have to be exactly the same. Your children can be different ends of the spectrum, or you yourselves can be, but until you've got that, it's a really lonely place. And
very
I would say I've become more confident in the last 6 months being around all of you girls. And there's stuff I will do now that I never would have done 6 months ago. And it's because, other than family, I never had anyone I connected with. And I think our kids need that, but I think we need that as well, whether it's for ourselves as neurodivergent women and adults, but also as parents of neurodivergent children, because it can be quite isolating and quite scary and quite worrying, and you don't know where to go, and you're fighting through, aren't you? But there's just nothing.
Charlotte, you're on mute.
I was just saying there was some noise going on, but no, I was saying it empowers you. It does. It's I mean, I started up the group that I run, when was it? It's been about 10 years. And we started off really small and just basically had this idea. Another parent approached me and said, there's no support out there for parents. She said, I'm really happy with the support my daughter gets, but there is nothing out there for us as parents. And we looked around and we confirmed there wasn't anything. So we just started up a parent support group. And a few years later, we were the most sought after in our borough. We've got about 3,000 members online. Very active. Amber's in our parent WhatsApp group. There's about 200 members in there. And it is constant, and has been for years, and it is still to this day. I guarantee there's probably unread messages in there now. And that peer-to-peer support has helped so many people in there get diagnosis for their kids, win tribunals, get, you know, help with DLA or whatever it may be. Because if you go into a group and you say, this is what I'm facing, I guarantee you someone in there will find the answer for you. Pre-COVID, we would have monthly coffee mornings, or more often if we could put them on. And it got to the point where CAMs were including our information in the diagnosis packs, not even asking us, because they learned that we were the most popular group and they were struggling to get people to attend theirs, and even started asking if they could join on to the end of our coffee mornings. We had to, in the end, just say no, actually, because the parents just want us. They don't want you there. And it proved that it was needed, to the point where even the local mayor was asking us to roll it out across schools and so on. And it's needed. It is needed. And it's such a simple solution. It cost us nothing other than just listening and caring about others and telling. We would sit and basically, I used to say it's like therapy. It's like going to an AA, but without, you know, having the being addicted to alcohol. But we would talk about, hi, my name is, this is the problem I'm facing, or this is what this week's been like, or this is an amazing thing that's happened, or this is what I'm struggling with. And we laughed together and we cried together, and we have a special bond because we can all relate to each other. Even though our children had all different, because we weren't just autism, it was SEND. So it was any additional need. But we could all relate. We all had loads of appointments and, you know, struggles with schools and problems with DLA or sleepless nights or delayed this or whatever it may be. We could relate on a deeper level, and there's something really special in that, and people don't realize how powerful peer-to-peer support is, just from hearing someone say, this is what I'm going through and this is how I feel, and you thinking, oh my God, it's not just me.
Actually, because when I enrolled my son at school, I need to ask about this. When I enrolled my son at school, they were, oh yeah, we do an ASD coffee afternoon.
Oh,
I've never been invited.
Where is it then?
What? Where is it?
Do you know what I mean?
Where
They're contacting you and constantly complaining to you about nonsense, but where's the support group that you claimed you had? They probably don't have one.
They've probably got rid of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't comment. Maybe
it's such a powerful tool.
No, I know. But that's something I would. The thing is, as well, it's what pisses me off, because like Corinne was saying earlier, like I've got a list as long on my arm about things that I want to do.
You just can't do them.
I would love to set up something in my area like that. You know, for children with SEND, like general SEND, not just autism. And even if it was a little cafe, or even if it was a little stay and play, something.
I literally put a post
accessible.
up 4 days ago on my local mum group. I took it down within half an hour because my anxiety went crazy. Because I want to do like a group for neurodivergent adults.
Right.
There's nothing, like, there's a lot of autism groups or like SEND groups locally. That's what we're looking. But
there is
we just need one for adults. But
it's on at one in the afternoon.
They're always on at really difficult times, aren't they?
I had to argue with.
I feel like we could all, in our local areas, run a group.
I would love to.
Neurodivergent adults, because we all have the passion and the.
You all just move to London, please.
Yeah,
I'll move to London.
I already have. I just want to start again. Come on.
But I would love to set up something like that. And then it's like, when do you have the time? Like,
this is
I'm
it.
fucking drained with everything going on around my one individual child and my one individual life that I don't have. Like,
where's the time?
Setting it up, that's the hardest part, and getting the people, like getting the awareness out there. That was the hardest part I found for us. Once we had the group, we would literally just have our coffee morning. They knew it was the last Friday of every month at the local in the resource centre. The CAMs used to store our coffee morning box, which had all of our stuff in. And every last Friday, we turn up and we put it in the group. Say, guys, don't forget coffee morning.
From me, I could just. I might
ask them if they've got a space. You can set one up pretty easily.
And then
you just
put leaflets around.
Yeah,
I'll just put it on Facebook, because like there's lot, and you know, in the WhatsApp group and stuff, because even, you know, there is a higher level of SEND just in my village, like it's quite obvious. And it would be nice, even if I did like an alternating adult one alongside kids one. I would almost be scared to do the adults one on my own, because I feel
Try
like
parent carer one. Those are really
parent be good.
parent carer is the one that is what we did. By
Yeah.
default, there was a lot of
But I would do it like a
neurodivergent
stay-in
parent
place, so the
carers
kids can
anyway.
go off and play. So
Yeah.
was yours just for the parents, or did kids
So
come?
we used to do it on a Friday or a Thursday. Sorry, Thursday. We used to do it on a Thursday morning. So we would do it from about 9:30, and we used to book 9:30 to 12. We'd end up being there till like 2 some days because people just didn't want to leave. There was just so much conversation, never runs dry. And then they would leave and go pick up their kids because it was their time to not think about caring. Obviously, we always used to say though, if you don't have childcare or your child's not in school, because we know obviously a lot of kids don't have full-time education, you are welcome to bring your child. And sometimes people did, but mostly it was just parents that will come along, have their coffee and have that moment to talk about
I mean, how
themselves.
hard can it not be? Do you know what I mean? To set up some like tea, coffee,
Exactly.
get
We
some
used to get free
plates.
stuff from Waitrose and Tesco's. They used to give us stuff for free. The resource centre was free. Yeah, the hardest part was
You can find somewhere to
word
have
out.
it, like anywhere, like your local
churches.
local churches, yeah.
Pubs do
You
them
know
as
what?
well,
We've
because
got
we
quite
had
a-
one that a pub would do.
Yeah, we was offered a pub space.
Yeah. And a lot of the pub,
Oh,
like
oh.
the pub that did it for our area, they didn't charge for it. They would just allow you to be there. But I think, I don't know, for me, we do have quite a lot of groups, but I'm one of these that I wouldn't go on my own. And
It
also,
also depends on how the groups run, because we had a few groups in our area, like Cams used to put on groups, but the delivery wasn't right. That's why when the mayor wanted us to roll out our groups across Hackney, he was saying that me and the lady I did it with were what made the group work. It was our approach and how we did it, and he didn't feel that other people would be able to kind of recreate that unless we then trained and showed them how we did it, because a lot of the groups were quite formal or there was no structure, but we managed to get a really good balance, which I'd be happy to show you lot how we
if you could.
but it worked so perfectly. Like literally we never ever had a week where there was any awkward silences or anything. The groups were just perfect, and it got to the point where the janitor or the caretaker, at the Cam's place really hated us because he was constantly having to go and get more chairs because there was no space. But yet you'd go along to the actual formal groups, which were put on by Cams, and they were empty. Like
wow,
it
says it all, don't it?
People, we haven't done a coffee morning for years now, and yet parents still. So I think someone said it in the group the other day that she was at another session somewhere, and people were talking about our groups because they were so good, but it was the delivery and how we did it and the structure and all of that. They were brilliant. They were so good. People would literally come out there and be like, oh, people like, when is the next coffee morning? I need one. Like it was their mental health break for the month. And there's just so much power in it, but we need them. We do.
Just having the right people as well, isn't it? Because that wouldn't have worked without you. And I think that's the thing, you need the right people to do it, and everybody's going to want something different from it. I can only speak on personal experience, and I'm sure the groups aren't like it, but it's always felt either very formal to me or very closed off or very clicky. Not clicky in a bitchy way or a nasty way. It's not like you wouldn't be welcome, but it almost felt like I was back at school. So although it's like, well, this is what we do, you know, these are the days we run. If you get time off work, come down, or you know, if you're on leave, come. And I would be in the groups and I'd sit and watch how the groups kind of interacted, and I'd think, I'm going to be the odd one out. I don't know anybody, and it's not that they're not nice or kind or welcoming, but it feels very clicky. And I think that's where you really do need the people behind it to, I don't even know how you word it, but just be like us, if that makes sense. Be like you, and just be kind of that. It's non-judgmental, isn't it? It's just that openness, and you feel welcome. Because I feel like with each one of you, I feel like I've known you all of my life. I feel like I can be anywhere around you all and you will accept me. You know, I can be unapologetically me. And I think that's a big thing to have, especially
when you're going through everything we are, and especially when you're knackered and you're fighting systems, you don't want another fight on your hands, or you don't want to have to always put on a brave face. Yeah, you don't want rejection either. And it's the constant putting on that brave face, isn't it? Or trying to hold yourself up because you're worried about how you'll be perceived if you can't hold yourself up. And it shouldn't be like that.
No.